Oh my gosh, here we are again. We're well into 2024 now. And it's already proving to be quite an interesting year. So, welcome everyone. We're so happy to share insights with you. I'm here with Nura today. Jamie wasn't able to join us, Mar wasn't able to join us. We'll have them back as soon as we can possibly figure that out. But it's really fun to do this with Nura, so I'm excited to do that. And we'll just start with as we go into the Aquarius month on January 20th, is the Pluto conjunction with the Sun right before they enter Aquarius. So at the exact conjunction is at 2959 Capricorn. And for some reason, this is just fascinating to me because for those of you who might not know, there are 30 degrees in a sign and 60 minutes in a degree. So 2959 is the most comprehensive, most precise exactness of the fullness of Capricorn that anyone could possibly experience. Now, some might say it's on the cusp and it's almost the other, but the way that I tend to look at it is that it's like, as long as it's in the sign, it's fully in that sign. And then when it moves into the next sign, it's fully into the next sign. And there's not that crisscrossing back and forth. That just feels too confusing to me. So that's just me. So we have this really comprehensive expression of the Sun and Pluto coming together. Pluto is about bringing the shadow to light so that we can see where we may have beliefs, we may have ways of being, we may have fears, we may have whatever it might be that hold us back from being wholly who we are. So Pluto's a catalyst for all of that. And it's not always fun and it's not always easy. In fact, sometimes it's really difficult and it challenges to our core to be able to see that. But to me, this is the last time Pluto and the Sun come together in Capricorn for 230 years. And then when they come together, it'll be at 0 Capricorn. So this is like a last possibility in this time period in our lifetime. And what are the structures that we have, like educational structures, economic structures, government structures, medical structures, all the different structures that we have of this reality that aren't serving us in the best ways possible. And Capricorn's most interested in that. So what needs to come down? What needs to dissolve or to be dismantled or maybe bulldozed in those structures so then we can create something that's actually sustainable and works, which is very Capricornian. So then within minutes after this exact conjunction, Sun moves into Aquarius on January 20th. And then within hours, then Pluto moves into Aquarius. So it's just like this last hurrah, big wow moment that's happening with the exact conjunction. They're very close the whole day leading up, the day before and the whole day leading up to the exact conjunction. And then they're going to be very close the whole day after the exact conjunction. So there's a lot of energies that are associated with that. But it's an amazing moment, and it's only once in many lifetimes that we're going to experience this. Now, of course, the Sun and Pluto conjunct every year, but next year it'll be in Aquarius. So with that, I'm just going to hand this off to you, Nura, and see what other insights you have to share about this.
Of course. I am really loving the way everything is set up to help us to actually get to graduate from some of these Capricornian themes. It feels like we've been really building up to it. And I think that's the beauty of Pluto, is that we really get to work with these themes long term. It's not surface level. It's the exact opposite of that. We're going so deep. It's about depth, not breadth. So anytime you've ever come back to the same point in the spiral of your evolutionary journey and wondered, oh my gosh, why am I here again? Well, this sun meeting Pluto every year, I think is a beautiful time where we get to really do that and shine the light on that. Like, oh, here's where I'm at in this spiral of my direction, of my purpose, of my evolutionary intention, which is Pluto. And now, how am I looking at it a little bit differently? What new awareness do I have? What new way am I going to be able to see what I'm really working with? And I think, especially with that shift from Capricorn, and we kind of get to bring that Capricorn empowerment into the Aquarius season, we get to bring in awareness of our resources. We get to bring in awareness, taking inventory of what's working for us. And also, I think a lot of compassion and understanding for what we're also actively letting go of, because it's always both. I think Pluto always carries that reminder that there is transformation, change, and death are the only inevitables of life, really. And I love to use these kind of transits as this reminder of, I have this one precious life. Even if I come back to life in other forms, I have this one right now, and that's it. And I also only have this one moment. Like, this conjunction between Sun and Pluto at this last degree of Capricorn will never happen again in our lifetime. And that feels really special. I think it's really easy sometimes to get a little bit jaded because we have all of these expectations and we take things for granted. And that's a little bit, I think, part of our coping mechanism of how to deal with life is kind of like we have to sometimes get on that autopilot and just, kind of coast through a little bit. But this feels like one of those transits where we get that reminder of whatever you're moving through, this is the one time you'll be moving through that, and remembering that it's that awareness of the finite nature of life that I think really helps us to have reverence for it, which is a key word for Capricorn for me. I love to bring in that reminder, that sacred dedication to what we came here to do in this life, that there's a beautiful re-empowerment just through looking at it. Like, we don't have to necessarily know what we're going to do with that awareness. We don't have to make a plan about it. We just get to witness it. And that witness energy is going to really turn on in Aquarius season, because Aquarius is that fixed air, is the observer. So it's almost like we get to have this seed, this download of this sort of final graduated expression of whatever we've been deconditioning around, maybe false directions, false paths that maybe we've been following based on conditioning. And then Aquarius season is really going to help us illuminate the inner witness and the observer of all of this, and sort of allowing whatever the strategy is of what is coming next to just reveal itself. So I'm really feeling, I'm anticipating this transit. And I totally agree with you, Cayelin. Two things: I don't believe it cusps. Definitely that. I think of it more as like a continuum. It's
Yeah.
building, but it's definitely one is different than the other for sure. And with every major transit kind of holding, at the very least, a 3-day window of massive intensity. It's kind of like a new moon. It's like that balsamic new moon where you're feeling it ending, which feels very like also Sun, Pluto, and Capricorn. And then you have the new thing that comes in, and then you have like I'm aware of the new thing now. So I love working with things at the very least in a 3-day window. And I actually think that part of our human nature of processing and integration works in that amount of time as well. And at least this is the case for me. Like, I notice if I ever say a prayer, or I'm asking my guides for some sort of answer or awareness of something, it's like I ask, and then like 3 days later there's the revelation of that. So it really helps me to be patient with my expectations around receiving information. So that could also just be, something to add and offer if you are hoping to receive some new information with this transit.
I love that you agree with me. Not that you have to, but I just love it. And also I feel like one of the ways, because Capricorn and Aquarius sit side by side, so if it's moving from one to the other, an insight I had many years ago was that Capricorn's about implementing and putting things into form and doing it in the best, most effective and efficient way possible, so that it's sustainable and gets good results. That's the essence of Capricorn. It's not about hard work. It can be initially to get it all set up and put into place, but ideally it's like you do the hard work to then be able to just enjoy the structure of what's been created and not have to continue to keep doing hard work. I think that's a conditioning of the current dominator culture. It's like you have to work hard because they've enslaved all the people, and so if we can convince people they always have to work hard, that's not the essence of Capricorn. Just saying. And then Aquarius is about vision, about seeing the bigger picture, the cosmic perspective, the eagle's eye perspective of things. And so oftentimes what can happen, and I've noted, is that people can have great ideas, but they don't know how to implement them. Or people know how to implement things, but they don't really have the great ideas. So if you have a Capricorn Aquarius working together, then the great ideas or the visionary aspects and things can be implemented in the best ways possible. So they work together in that way. So it's just to add that
I
little.
love that. And I feel like they're both ruled by Saturn. So it's really honoring both the yin and the yang, the feminine and the masculine ways of co-creating. That's beautiful.
Yeah, cool. So what the other thing we have going on this month, I'm just gonna say we've got several planets moving into Aquarius. Mercury will be first on February 4th, and then we have Mars on February 12th, and then Venus on February 17th. So that this Aquarian theme is going to be lit up by that. But before that happens, we have Uranus station, I'm sorry, we have Mars coming back inside the boundaries of the sun. So it's been outside the boundaries. So we've been outside the box, even though Mars has been in Capricorn, it's been able to think or to express and be outside of ordinary reality. And it's coming back in on the 23rd of January. Then on January 27th, we have Uranus stationing direct in Taurus. And that will represent a moment. And now it really, I feel like probably takes a few days, because at a station point, it's a stop, it's a pause, it's a still point. And the planet doesn't actually start moving forward for a little bit of time after that. But it's considered to be when all the planets are now direct. And it's going to last until April 1st, when Mercury goes retrograde. So we have like 64 days with all the planets direct. And when planets are retrograde, there's often time to reconsider, relook at, reimagine, those kinds of things. Like if we're trying to do something that's not working, then it's time. But there can feel like there's a lot of push towards getting things done, and sometimes going too fast. So there's the shadow side of that. It's like, oh yeah, nothing's slowing me down right now, but oh, maybe something should be slowing me down because I'm going too fast. So just to keep that in mind, and you can choose to slow down and go, okay, I really want to move this forward, but what's the best plan? What's the best way to do that? How can I be the most effective at what it is that I'm wanting to create over the next couple months? So we have that going on. And then I guess there's a lot of other things going on, but I'll just hand it off to you.
Yeah, I'm really anticipating this. So the Mars, we'll start there. Mars coming back into bounds. Mars went out of bounds around the solstice. And so anytime a planet's going out of bounds, I really view them as this sort of cosmic emissary. Like they're going to fetch something. They're going to receive some sort of information that we wouldn't otherwise get to have access to. And so as Mars is back in bounds as of the 23rd, it's like he's coming back with some sort of message. And it's very interesting because as he comes back with that message, he's also just coming out of there's an approaching Mars Mercury conjunction. So Mercury, the messenger's, right behind Mars in the sky. And also that same day, the moon will be in Cancer opposing. So there seems to be this sort of illumination energy between the archetypes of Capricorn and Cancer, maybe I think really supporting what you just spoke to, Cayelin, around that softness and nurturing of these new ideas. Is it an action plan with Mars and Capricorn? Is it just a manner of approaching something that maybe we've come into more awareness of? Like whatever that information is that Mars has sourced for you, and really coming back into the Capricorn part of your chart to kind of give you this nugget. Like what is the thing that maybe, oh, I felt like I was missing it, but now it just makes sense. Like I always notice there's some sort of clicking, like an aha, like, oh, that's the thing. It's making it make sense. I was in a little bit of a space of overwhelm until that fell into place. And so coming back to Mercury is actually officially out of the post-retrograde shadow zone on January 20th as well. So Mercury is also fresh and ready to move forward, but it does seem like we want to still tune into, okay, well, what did we learn? What was the wisdom that was seeded for you during the whole new Mercury and Capricorn cycle? And I think you spoke to it so beautifully, Cayelin, when you mentioned the initiating element of Capricorn. It's a lot of work to initiate something, to get it started, but we don't have to be in this sort of like hamster wheel of like, I've got to constantly be initiating something, and if I'm not doing that, then I'm doing it wrong, and it takes the fun all out of it. It's like, when do we get to enjoy the structure that we built? So it feels like, as if we're able to bring that reminder and that wisdom into whatever we're creating, then we can really utilize the strength of Mars, because Mars is exalted in Capricorn, super strong. That's all it really means. He's resourced in that space, and so he can really go for it. Something else that I think is really cool too is that since both Mercury and Jupiter were retrograde in between Capricorn and Taurus, they're actually coming again to trine with each other, which has been sort of this back and forth. They've formed a trine with each other a few times, and maybe depending on what houses in your chart both Mercury and Jupiter rule, maybe you're noticing, oh, there's been some like interesting opportunities, but then there's like reversals, delays, things taking some extra time than they usually do. So now that they're coming to this final trine throughout this season, maybe now is when you start to see the payoff of whatever you've had to wait patiently for in relation to them. And at its most basic, if we tune into Mercury Jupiter, it's mindset, beliefs, and they're in earth signs. So I think something related to embodiment, perhaps safety in the body, really understanding our energy field and how to care for ourselves and resource ourselves. And so some sort of maybe revelation. I feel like that's a really big word for this month in general, is this, revelation energy, but really being able to work with that in a new way.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that so much. So, there may be other things to talk about, but I just, for some reason, this is what's on my mind, is because we were talking about it earlier before we started the recording, and that is Venus and Mars coming together. They don't come together this month, but they will be visible in the sky, in the morning sky. Hopefully you'll be able to see them coming together if you're up early enough to see that, and if you have clear skies. And so the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine coming to join in sacred union with one another. So this is, they're approaching that. And of course, we know that when anybody does a sacred union, marriage, whatever that's about, and it doesn't matter gender, but the point being, when that happens, there's planning. There's like, okay, what's our intention for this sacred union? And so we might be feeling into that. And in Aquarius, it's going to be, I can't remember, do they come together in Pisces, I think, but they're in Aquarius, they're going to be in Aquarius coming together this
Yeah,
month.
they come together at 6 degrees and 57 minutes Aquarius, February 22nd, still within that 5-degree
Oh,
orbital.
okay, right, yeah, okay, good, that's awesome. Huh, right on my icy. Okay, so anyway, yeah, so what's the vision for how are we connecting to our inner masculine and our inner feminine? So it doesn't matter what gender you are, but everyone has an inner masculine, inner feminine. So what's that? How is that coming together in a new way that maybe hasn't ever been done before? It's like Aquarius loves to be on the leading edge of new ideas and new ways of doing things, and outside the box of the old paradigm and all of that. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I love too that, I mean, if you've been following us for a while, you know that we love to talk about Venus and her cycles. So Venus will be forming a Venus gate February 7th, and it'll be in Capricorn. And this will be between the full moon in Leo, January 25th, and then February 9th is the new moon in Aquarius. But it feels like with that Venus gate forming right before the new moon in Aquarius, but in Capricorn, really associating with sacral chakra and creativity. It's like we get to take all of this and use it for something creative. I love what you said. It has actually never occurred to me that way, to think about that leading up time as like this is the planning for the sacred union. But I feel like this Venus gate will really support that. And I think when I tune into sacral chakra, I think of my creative process, any shame around creative process. Capricorn is one of those archetypes where we can certainly talk about perfectionism around how we're creating certain attachments, maybe any rigidity around what we're creating. And Venus still being in her morning star phase, there's a releasing of that. We're being invited to look at that, to let go of it, to get it moving so that maybe something new and fresh can come in. So it does feel like Venus is really doing her beautiful work to kind of prepare for the sacred union by bringing whatever is needed to that space, whether it's, how do we do, can we plan for, releasing shame? Can we plan for bringing in more self-love, or can we just plan to have some fun? Can we maybe bring the Capricorn resources into our space of fun, whatever that means and whatever that looks like? Like for example, I'm such a fan of, if I'm creating some sort of play space, I just love to put all the things there. Like even if I hike, if I fill a backpack and I bring a blanket, I'm like, everything's coming out of the backpack. I'm putting it all on the blanket so that I know that I have it. And then maybe I'll use it, maybe I won't, but I'm aware that it's there. And it just helps to um just to be aware of our resources. So, setting it up, set up the environment for play. And that way you can also be more aware of the resources that you require versus perhaps the ones that you don't, so that for next time, or when you get ready for that sacred union, you're a little bit more aware of what is actually needed. And the fact that Capricorn is also a Saturn ruled sign, as is Aquarius, which seems like he's sort of he's like the silent partner in all of this, Saturn kind of holding it down in Pisces, but like behind the scenes. um I love that Saturn helps us to refine away anything that's non-essential. So we have all these attachments and conditioning around what we think we need, but maybe we need a lot less than we think we need, whether that's just to get into the creative process. I know for me, I used to feel like I need to have my candle, I need to have a tea, I need to have my journal and notebook, I need to have a squishy pillow. Like if I don't have all those things, then I can't do the thing. And I would spend so much time getting ready, and then never do it. So I needed to just almost give myself some space of like, just get the journal, just sit down and do the writing, and not put so much pressure on it needing to be perfect, or whatever it is. So everybody will have their own process with that, but that feels really connected, I think, to what Venus is doing. And yeah, I'll leave it there.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that. There was something you said that I was going to comment on, and now I can't remember it. So oh well, I just lost the thought. I should
Come
probably
back.
have made a note, but anyway, it's all good. So I just one of the things that's also happening this month, and you were mentioning the new moon, which is when we start the Chinese year of the dragon. And of course, we looked at this year as unleashing your inner dragon, and that we did if you haven't seen the overview of 2024 that we did, all four of us did together, highly recommend it, because it gives you a sense of the energy for the year. But we will definitely on February 11th be having that. And I feel like it's been coming in all along. I see the dragon energy everywhere. But it's going to be official, I guess. If for those who need the official piece of that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm
yeah,
really feeling it too. A lot of energy is already bubbling up about it, which is very exciting. And I think that's probably just like the way the dragon is too. The dragon's kind of big and bold and everywhere and unafraid, unshamed around everything.
yes, yes, yeah. And actually somebody just I've been having people contact me and say they've been working with the dragons and this is what they're saying and all these things. So there's a lot out there already coming in around this. So just be aware of that. And how do you maybe feel into how do you want to work with the dragon energy this year? And are you seeing it as it's like so multidimensional, and dragons represent luck and they represent life force and they represent wisdom and there's so many things they represent that we don't always necessarily think about. So how do we tune into that dragon energy, and what part of it or what all of it do we want to, do we want to, it's like, how do you want dragons to guide you this year, I guess would be the question. And then ask for their guidance and support because they're here to do that. Pretty
I
cool.
love that. I love that so much. I feel like it speaks to something we were talking a bit about before, where there's Aquarius and the emphasis on technology and AI, but maybe we're also coming back to this reclamation and awareness of natural or innate technology, whether that's through vibrational healing, sound movement, even telepathy. I feel like as humans, we have this process of like we invent something outside of ourselves like the internet, and then we remember, oh, like we can actually do this, like this is something innate within us that maybe we've forgotten. But it does feel like with Pluto re-entering Aquarius and its power to the people and people remembering their power, and Aquarius is the energy wave, that there's something of us remembering the power of our energy and maybe reconnecting with skill sets that we didn't even know that we had. I really feel like there's going to be so much dormant skill sets or dormant genes, even dormant vibrations that we just haven't been ready for. They just had to go underground or they had to be turned off, that they'll be switched on. Maybe not immediately, maybe not all at once, but there does seem to be that association with Aquarius in general, that, having that co-rulership of Uranus as well, that there could be sudden changes, there could be the disruptions of our energy field. And so even just tuning into how do we regulate our nervous system around these changes? How do we, if you are one of the people who it's like, all of a sudden I'm psychic and I don't know what to do with it, like how do you get to resource and learn how to manage that skill set and not be afraid of it? Pluto also does connect us to our fears, so we could have a skill set that we're afraid of, and maybe even if you're somebody who's empathic or has all of these different ways of knowing that are not typically validated in everyday operational society, like maybe those things are starting to be more validated because we're actually starting, science is catching up with what the mystics have always known. So it seems like those things will be way more accepted, way more validated, and you might feel like, okay, I can actually show up with this now. I could show up with this psychic skill set and be accepted. It's like Aquarius is, in the shadow, it's like the weirdo who's rejected from the group, but now it feels like that it's an empowering position to be that person who's a little bit of the weirdo, and then you find your group.
Yes. Oh gosh, I love that, Nura, the reminder that Pluto is about facing our fears. And if we're afraid to be different, or if we're afraid to allow our uniqueness and authenticity to shine through, then that's holding us back and limiting us. And Pluto's always here to empower and liberate us from all of that. So it's a powerful, and it'll be in Aquarius until 2044. So we'll have a long time to work with it. I think you're exactly right when you say it might happen quickly, but it might not. It depends on where you're at, I think, individually. And then how that will also affect us collectively. It could happen more quickly or less depending on where our collective energy's at as well. So I love that so much, and I feel like this might be a good place to wrap up um, our month and the amazingness of what it is that is happening for us in this Aquarius Solar Month. Is there any final thoughts you have?
I am really loving the astrology for this month. It's simple in that, we're really working with some core archetypes, but I think it's an opportunity to really lean into our inner observer, our inner witness, not feel like we need to run and do something and feel like we have to have it all figured out. I mean, I don't think the answers come from our brain mind anyways. It's going to come a lot more from this embodied process, really trusting the process. And I also think always with Aquarius, I mean, part of it is finding the others. So how do you get to, find your tribe, find your people, even if it's a group of 2 or 3, we're so much more powerful when we come together.
Absolutely. So thank you for Nura. This has been so much fun. And stay tuned because Jamie and Mar will be back and we'll be doing this. We don't know when next, but but we will be probably for the next, at least by the time the next Pisces month, solar month starts. And we also may do something else. Who knows? So stay tuned. So thank you, everyone. Have a great month.
Bye.